All right, everyone. Happy New Year. It's Thursday, but it's also the first day of 2026. Rob Vino has the day off, and in his place, my good pal, Freddie Mills. Freddie, Happy New Year. Did you get in any fun last night on New Year's Eve?
Happy New Year, Adam. Yeah, a little banged up this morning. Kind of had a neighborhood get together last night, some fireworks. So a little bit of a later night than I'd hoped, but spent it with some good people and whatnot. So no complaints.
That's great to hear.
How about yourself?
Yeah, it was good. We kept it low key. We have had in the Syracuse area, the area I live in, we have had the most snow in the month of December since 1993. So like
Oh
literal
wow.
record snowfall. Going anywhere has been a challenge. I was actually supposed to go visit. I was actually supposed to be at the Tarleton State game tonight, visiting some friends and family in Texas. I've
Yeah,
had to push that off, although I may be still shooting for this weekend. So we'll see. But yeah, other than that, can't complain. We had a great slate of New Year's Eve hoops yesterday, and they've left us with a couple games today. Most of the
yeah,
mid-major conferences, but Freddie, that's like you know me, like these are the leagues that I almost kind of prefer to talk about. So picking a feature game was, I guess, a little bit difficult, but to me, the Missouri Valley has been a great league for a long time. And
sure.
we've got a couple good Valley games tonight. I think the biggest being Bradley heading down to Nashville to take on Belmont. So I'll kick it over to you to start this one off for our feature game, Bradley Belmont. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, just pulling up some of my stuff. I think Bradley or Belmont, sorry, is off an OT loss to Indiana State. So you kind of see how those teams react to that. And I guess even today, like a common theme, I guess for me or thinking point is like you have like the New Year's Day, some early tips. I guess which teams are most disciplined in getting a full night's rest, and you never kind of know kind of how that stuff plays out. Um, any game with Belmont, I think, brings a high degree of variance with their obviously the perimeter attack. Well known for their motion offense, creating these high quality threes. Bradley, I think, watched them this year. Their strength of their defense is on the ball with Johnson, Jaquan Johnson. I think Jaquan is the first name. I think really good, kind of at the point of attack. Um, I do think Belmont has the ability to kind of work, I guess, to the weaknesses, if you will, of the Bradley defense, which is off the ball and kind of on the perimeter. As their offense, as I mentioned, is more kind of about these off the ball screens, off ball cutting, these types of things. And if you look at how Bradley's bigs in particular have defended some of these inside out actions, pick and pop actions. Hoop Explorer is a great I guess site that you can use to kind of look at how teams defend different sets. I believe, just pulling it up now, Bradley is in the 10th percentile against inside out actions, and that's what Belmont's offense is all about. Um, I think this number has come down. You probably correct me on that. I think it was like 7, maybe 5-ish now, something, which, makes sense as, you have a competitive rivalry here. I think since these teams have been in the same conference, I want to say Belmont has a 3-2 edge. I've played some good games in the last few years. Um, but for me, I suppose I didn't really see an edge in the number. I do feel like Belmont potentially, if the perimeter game is working, can expose Bradley's perimeter defense, but not enough to maybe bet it myself.
Yeah, so just something that I think going into the new year, as I spent the 4 days over sort of the Christmas lull where we didn't have any games, trying to figure out like what went wrong for me the first 2 months of the season. Just did I've been beating numbers, Freddie, but like it's almost like that. The good CLV is not translated into wins for me, at least.
Sure.
I think it speaks to the high level of just randomness that is now in college basketball, opposed to like what this used to be 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up is because like going into the new year, I'm really I reviewed all of my sort of notes, records, and what I will do is I basically keep track of anything that qualifies from like a numerical move or like a numbers perspective. That doesn't mean I'm betting. I mean, if I were to bet every sort of number edge that I showed, my volume would be out of control. I'd probably be just totally eaten alive on juice. With that being said, you talked about not really having a number or an edge on the number here for the side. Like, I'm kind of throwing games out because of that now. So like for this one, I came in pretty much at 6. Now I didn't see, I saw this one open a couple of different places. I couldn't really like find like the true opener for this one, but it does feel like the 6.5 to 5.5 range. Am I right on that? Would you call that the opener for this game?
Yeah, I think that's what I saw. I thought I saw 7, but like my projection is, and again, I've had my share of struggles this year, is 79-72 Belmont. So I was kind of right on the I guess initial number. And as I mentioned, like with Belmont, they're a great perimeter shooting team, but they do play compact as well. So they're kind of a team that shoots a lot of threes, allows a lot of threes. So that to me kind of is, from game to game, you never kind of know where you're going to fall with the regression type stuff. And Bradley, as I mentioned, their defense is going to give some stuff up, I think, because their bigs are going to struggle a little bit more in space. But on the other end, I think Johnson that I mentioned and some of their other kind of quicker guards can certainly get into their like drive and kick action that their I guess offense revolves around, because Belmont's defense will kind of play in the gaps and allow the just try and play compact, protect the rim, and live with kind of that perimeter shooting against. So that's why I kind of am less inclined to trust any projection when I think there's going to be a lot of 3-point shooting, just because it's the hardest thing to predict from game to game.
No, absolutely. And that's where, I kind of, I guess, strayed from the point I was trying to make. But like, I guess where I'm at now is if I'm not seeing a numerical edge one way or another, like it's going to have to really be something that I either had very much circled, or like there's such a stylistic like matchup. I almost think those are getting overpriced into the number these days, where because teams, and I'll go back to my original point, because teams are so new, and it's like you have these coaches who all these coaches seem very, very frustrated. Like, in my opinion, with it's like they want to play a certain way, and they like it just they don't have players long enough to play the way they want to play. So like for me, I'm more like trying to just find the bigger number edges, and then I'm looking for a good spot for the team that I'm trying to back. In this game, I didn't really get either of those. And I will go back to the beginning of the year. Bradley's a team that I do still kind of have as one of the teams that I think might be undervalued right now, just in general. It doesn't really help me as much here. But this is a team that I thought could have won this league coming into the year. They have, the loss to Tennessee Martin early in the year. That's obviously a bad loss. Didn't play well against St. Bonaventure. They've looked really good of late. And I think the final point I'll make on just in general on this game before we move on to the next game is that the conference play really represents a reset of sorts. And I think you do have to go revisit some of your like preseason sort of outlook on a team, because the slate is wiped clean. Loyola Chicago yesterday, a great example, comes out and plays great in their A10 opener after a horrible non-conference slate. So again, those are just kind of some things that this game made me think of, but no real bet here for me.
Yeah, I think Bradley's biggest edge, if you were to break it down, looks to be like shot volume potentially. Like they're a very good net turnover team, protect the ball well, create a lot of turnovers. That can be an issue, metrically, at least for Belmont. And you referenced, sometimes you had to dive deep for the UT Martin loss. I remember that game. I think Bradley went something like 2 for 20 from 3. So, when you get those type of shooting performances, which are impossible to predict, it's really tough to win a game. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think they can kind of reestablish themselves now in conference play, and that's always a great conference. A lot of good teams, fun to watch. So.
Yeah, tremendous league. It has been for a long time, and again, two really good teams couldn't find a real way in there. But I felt like that game, being as it's a little bit later in the day, and the fact that those two teams could very well be battling it out at the top of that league this year, deserved some attention. The A Kid says, is the chat broken? Could be. Your comment came through on YouTube. I did notice, like, the chat is usually far more lively at this point, and I did notice that the chat comments are not coming through. So to answer your question, your comment came through fine. Billy Humphreys says, Happy New Year, everyone. Conference play today. Yep, absolutely. Happy New Year to everyone out there. So some of the comments are coming through on the chat. But yeah, it's definitely not the ones that not as many as we usually get. So I don't know where this is broken, but if you're seeing this, I believe we're running on Twitter right now, and it looks like the YouTube chat is working. So if you want to get a comment in, if you want us to see it, maybe head on over to the YouTube live stream, because those are the ones that looks like they're coming through. Or what you can also do is just tweet at us, tweet in the live stream, and we'll see it there as well. All right, Freddie, I want to move on to this game. I am going to get down to see my buddy Kyle in Texas at some point this year. We had tentatively planned for this week and for this game. And like I was telling you, the snow did not cooperate. I mean, we have gotten absolutely pummeled here all week. There was not a single snowflake on the ground on Christmas. The opposite of a white Christmas, and we have gotten absolutely pummeled since then. So no trip to me for Texas today. The game I would have been going to, sadly, looks like it's going to be a great game. Utah Valley took care of business earlier this week against Cal Baptist. Tarleton took care of business on the road against UT Arlington. Freddie, I am so excited to watch WAC basketball this year. The last chance we'll get to watch it. It's only a 7-team league, but like 5 of these teams are really good. And some of them are going to play. Yeah, like some of them are going to play 3 times. I actually think Utah Valley Tarleton might be one of the ones that you see three meetings of this year. I know that I think most of them actually, because it's a 7-team league. I think you're going to get a 6. It's 6 teams playing 3 times. I think you have an 18-game league schedule. So I think most of these teams will play 3 times. That's certainly a unique setup when it comes to conference play. And this should be a great game. Brand new arena down there for Tarleton. This is 8 p.m. in Stephenville, Utah Valley Tarleton. And what are you seeing here?
Yeah, my projection was just looking at it here, so I apologize if I'm sometimes glancing to the side. 74-71 Utah Valley. So I almost bet the under before I went out celebrating last night, and looks like the market kind of agreed. I guess why I didn't was potential. Tarleton, to me, anytime you watch a game, the whistle is very key with their pressure defense. They have, their offensive style is all about getting downhill and getting to the line, and their pressure defense is very susceptible to getting other teams in the bonus very quickly. So it's never fun to kind of see an under kind of bleed out to kind of, both teams in the bonus early. So that's kind of why I stayed away. And the other thing that's frustrated me with Tarleton, I guess, is just trying to figure out their personnel from game to game. I know there's sometimes they pop up and Dior Johnson is nowhere to be seen, and obviously over the years like Freddie Hicks, and obviously now with conference play you would assume whoever's healthy is going, but they're kind of a tricky team to kind of handicap pre-flop, just because you never really know, and the coverage on the team can be hit or miss. I guess when I look at this one, I feel like Utah Valley's biggest kind of 2 keys will be, can they protect the ball? If you just look at the raw metrics, I think they're in the bottom 50 nationally in offensive turnover rate, which is, not something you want to see as you hit the road against a defense that thrives there. And the other thing is, can they make the free throws, which has been an issue for them as well. I was on Utah Valley couple of days ago, I think got -6, ended up winning by 7, but there was, that last minute was not nice to watch. I think they're only like 65% from free throw line, and that will have to be like a key for them today, because they're likely going to get to the line with how Tarleton extends their defense and plays in the gaps and these types of things. my biggest kind of worry for I guess Tarleton is this game is very likely to be played toward the rim. Both offenses. Utah Valley is a very dominant front court, likes to play through their bigs, and Tarleton, as I mentioned, kind of gets downhill. And if you look at the net 2-point percentages of these teams, I believe Utah Valley is one of the best in the country at +10. So basically just subtracting offensive 2-point shooting percentage from their defensive 2-point shooting percent defense, whereas Tarleton is -7. So, that would be something that points toward the Utah Valley side. I believe it's kind of a tricky game because, like I said, the whistle is very key in Tarleton games. I do think Tarleton's a team that is better than maybe some of the metrics. They're a team I'd like to play on. I just maybe didn't love this matchup enough. I kind of leaned their way. I guess my number was 3, I think, and the market I think is 4.5. But I think as of now I'll pass. I'll kind of see how the market goes, but that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. I probably get as good of info as possible, like if anyone with Tarleton, because again, I have some pals down there that are close to the program and that are, very tuned in, and it's a team I follow closely. Even I have been surprised at times with, there was stuff that like I've been surprised with guys missing. There was a game where Dior Johnson played and then just played 1 minute and didn't play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Freddie, the fact that he's coming off the bench, but yet he averages 21 points per game is certainly odd, in my opinion.
It's a choice.
This was a team that did not expect to have Freddie Hicks. He kind of like backdoored his way into an extra year of eligibility via the same rule that Tyon Grant Foster used to get an extra year of eligibility. So like where they were rated coming into the season to then just like magically get Freddie Hicks, who's probably the highest usage player on the team and has been for a couple of years, is massive. All of that makes me really like this team. Like the other thing too is they did have, so they had some injury, but Freddie, like they had a stretch in December where they had guys banged up, and they also played a series of like non-D1 games, and then like a couple of teams like Mississippi Valley State is a walkthrough, Florida A&M, like these teams that were like not going to really challenge them. And so I do know that guys were healthy and just kind of not playing for a stretch. So as far as I know, like unless something happened in the Arlington game that I don't know about, health should not be an issue with this team right now. And what that means is, Chris Mpaka missed a couple of games. He is going to be massive for them in this matchup because the one thing you have to compete with Utah Valley is you've got to be able to combat their size. Like Utah Valley for that league has, their size is superior. Cal Baptist really struggled with that on Monday. And I think that's probably part of the reason, if you were on Utah Valley in that game, you had to think they're going to keep Dom Daniels and they're going to keep Martell away from the rim. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, and for me in that one, it was more so like I think Daniels is good enough to get to his spot, but then finishing over size is the extra challenge there. Where the game they're playing today, I think they're against Arlington, they're much likelier to face less size, and Daniels and Williamson feel a bit more comfortable against the drop coverage versus the monsters they saw in the paint there. Just makes it challenging for efficiency. So front court for them, a great two-way rebounding team, and play through their big. So it kind of puts other teams in a bond whether they need to help and how they're going to match up on the block.
So Mpaka is, I think he's the key here because again, the size thing, but also he really hasn't returned to his normal minutes yet. So like since he's been back, it's been 10, 15 minutes a game. I mean, that's a guy, against Rice, he played pretty much the whole game, 22 points, had 24 against Merrimack. Like when he's right, like he's going to be out there the majority of the game. No, they have depth, but their depth is more, in my opinion, at the guard position. Guys like Cam McDowell, Dior, Freddie Hicks is kind of a combo type guy. It's going to be all about, can they keep Utah Valley out of the paint? If they can't, Utah Valley is going to score at will. And can they, I think they can get some, I don't hate the way they set up in terms of they'll probably slow the game down. Freddie probably draws fouls as good as anyone in the country. He's so good at
Yeah.
getting to the free throw line. Numbers right in this one too, in my opinion. I feel like if you were going to target this game, you'd probably be looking more toward the under maybe, or the total. I felt like 4 was pretty fair for this one. Should be a great game.
Yeah, I'm right on line with it. Had a slate sort of it, like I guess line edge toward Tarleton, but
Yep.
again, nothing I felt comfortable enough playing.
Yeah, the one thing about the new arena, and when I get there, whether it be Saturday or not, I'm still trying to move my schedule around. But they moved into a brand new,
Yeah.
beautiful arena. I can't wait to see it. It's the same architect built it as Foster Pavilion. It's
Oh,
almost a
nice.
clone of Foster Pavilion. But as you know, Foster Pavilion, 7,500, 8,000 kids at Baylor is very small.
Right.
Comparative to Wisdom Gym, it's a large step up in. I think you could get 3,000 at Wisdom Gym. No students there. I'll be interested to see if they have much of an atmosphere for this game, New Year's night. So again, that home court edge that I've always kind of had built into Tarleton, who's been very good at home, and when the kids are there, like they have filled that small gym before. I'm interested to see if they still have the same edge in this building. So again, all talking points. I don't, we're just trying to give out info. That's what Rob and I do on this show, trying to give you like 6 or 7 games, where we've got some information for you to make the best choice possible. And Freddie will be joining me for the parlay today. So stay tuned. We've got the parlay of the day. Rob will be back tomorrow. If you want the stuff from Rob, check out WagerTalk, wagertalk.com. Check out Rob's page. And Rob and I still have that great combo package, 3-day all access, where you can get us Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You can use it now anytime during the week. All right, Freddie, we have a donation from Garth. So we're going to check this game out. He says thoughts on Cal Poly, UC San Diego. He leans UC San Diego to cover the 8.5. And I kind of joked about this earlier in the week. There's like 5 teams that I've almost pulled out of my of trying to do anything with, because going back to the point I made about trying to really trust my numbers, I had to weed out a couple of teams that are what I consider to be major outliers. Loyola Chicago is one of them for a bad, on the bad end of the spectrum. UC San Diego is one on the good end of the spectrum. With Eric Olin heading to New Mexico, I did not expect this team to be, as the kids say, a wagon at this point in the year, but that's exactly what they've been. So Garth, I kind of lean UC San Diego just from the respect that, the way Cal Poly plays, to play an offense that's as efficient as they are, I think could be tough. But I don't trust my rating right now on UC San Diego. So that's my problem, Freddie. Talk to me, talk me in or out of the Tritons here.
Yeah, I believe they were coming off D1 loss to San Diego, I want to say. So you probably, when you're looking at different angles, I guess this time of year, whether it's the bounce back angle or, just pure motivation, they've certainly been a pleasant surprise to me too. I did figure they'd take a step back from the tournament team, just given some of the personnel changes and whatnot. But it's been very impressive, obviously, in the non-con. Some nice wins. They beat the team we mentioned earlier, Bradley. A great shooting team, can spread the floor 5 wide with guys who can rip the three, move the ball very well. I had this one as I'm looking now, 9180 Poly. So I guess, or sorry, UC San Diego. So I guess I would certainly lean the covering the 8.5. I have it closer to 10.5, 11. Again, nothing I played yet. Poly has certainly been a very scrappy team, even going back to last year, covering games as underdogs. You can expect pace here. So that kind of brings, a little bit more unpredictability into it. I believe Poly's still a top 10 pace team, and a team that also, again, seems to be a common theme today, like a top 23 point attempt rate. So, where does the perimeter shooting kind of fall today will be key in this game. I think getting up and down, both teams will certainly score the ball. But there was nothing, I guess, actionable for me to play a bet on it. But I would think UC San Diego is certainly eager to maybe erase the bad taste of the loss to San Diego.
Yeah, that was a kind of a weird game against San Diego. That San Diego team is really just like I can't. First of all, if you want to talk about teams I can't stand, they're very much on the list, and the reason is that well, one, they've burned me a couple of times, but two, they play like they just play like one on one. It's really ugly, but the problem is they have a couple guys that can really fill it up.
Yeah,
Ty Lore, the kid that came over from I want to say Wake Forest, maybe he started his career there. They've got a couple guys that can really kind of cook one on one, and San Diego just kind of fell into the trap almost for them, in my opinion, to sort of lose that game. Not only were they due, but they also like Lavin's kind of playing like a very weird like zone. It again, that San Diego team, if you watch San Diego play, you're like, this team's awful. I mean,
yeah,
I think I've seen them on multiple occasions, Freddie, where they went 7 minutes without scoring a point this season because they take bad shots, they take hard shots, like really tough shots. The shot selection's not that good, but then they can come out, and if they're having good one-on-one games, they can beat a team like San Diego.
yeah.
Cal Poly, in my opinion, much more like of a team oriented approach, but also I think UC San Diego, their style is going to play here, and I just don't know that. I don't know that Cal Poly's going to be able to string stops together. So I'm with
Yeah,
you.
just
It
I
would have to
wanted to
be
kind
UC San Diego.
I just wanted to kind of back up what I was suggesting at the top of my head anyway, that this would be a high 3-point attempt rate. Both teams, I guess, defensive structures certainly will allow that. Both are 295th or below an opponent 3-point attempt rate. So the three ball should be flying here. One thing I guess I also wanted to look is kind of how Poly grades out off the dribble. This has been certain weakness for, if you kind of just look at the metrics of the UC San Diego team, they have a lot of guys, like I said, who can stretch the floor, but they do struggle in space defending. They're below the 30th percentile in off the dribble defense, and Poly basically runs their offense around that above the 85th percentile in attacking off the dribble. So I do feel like both teams, as the total suggests, will score the ball. It probably comes down to who is a little bit more efficient from behind the arc to determine the cover.
Yeah, and I mean, like, kind of makes sense to like points here, but the books are doing you no favors.
No,
170 on the total. So,
right.
you know, maybe one, maybe the best thing to do there if you like points, see if you get a lull early and maybe try to play it in game, because I am there will be points in this game at some point. Can pretty much guarantee that.
Yep, I think so.
All right, I see the chat. This is I love when this happens. So I always compliment the chat, Freddie. We have sort of like generated a show where the people in the chat really know ball, and so I like to like kind of watch what they're talking about, and I respect the opinion of pretty much everyone that shows up on a regular basis. And so I love to talk about games where there seems to be a disagreement in the chat, right? Where you've got a
Sure.
couple of guys on one side, a couple on the other, and this particular game does not surprise me at all that would be the case. Cal Baptist, UT Arlington. I can totally see where you could make a case for both sides. I'll go back to what I said about Cal Baptist a couple minutes ago when we were talking about UT. We were talking about the Utah Valley game. That was not a good matchup in my opinion, for Daniels and for Martell Williams to sort of like get to the rim and create offense. And I think that's what Cal Baptist needs to do. Like that is their path to like offensive success. Now, Cal Baptist is a very good defensive team. Arlington's not the same kind of offense as Utah Valley. So I'll go to you because I'm kind of torn on this one too. I feel like I could kind of make a case for both sides here. I also kind of think that this could be a slog. So, maybe an under, but interested to see
Yeah.
your take on UT Arlington Baptist.
Yeah, Arlington's the team that I guess right now I'm looking to play against a little bit. Watched them a little bit recently. Do have some nice wins. I think they have 3 or 4 true road wins, which is not easy to do in the non-con. A couple of things jump out to me when I kind of look at whether it's the KenPom page or just trying to read about them. Top 10 in offensive turnover rate. So that's a red flag to me. And then you look at the 3-point defense. I believe they're still one of the top five defenses in the country, holding opponents to around 25% from three. Incredibly challenging to continue to do that over full course of the season. Not quite sure Baptist is the type of offense that might bring that regression, because they're definitely more of a rim offense with Daniels and Williams attacking. But it's a reason why I have some interest in Baptist here. I see the number is 2.5. I don't think I would maybe be interested in that, but it might be a spot that I'd try and jump in live, like at a money line. I guess when I look at both structures here, Rick Croy is very similar to what St. Mary's plays, drop coverage. And Arlington's, off the dribble metrics aren't fantastic. I believe they're below the 10th percentile in offensive efficiency off the dribble is what that defense will give you. You look on the other side with Daniels, as I mentioned earlier, I think this profile is a much more friendlier matchup. I think they go from kind of Utah Valley's top 30 in height to, I think Arlington is generally, I looked earlier, like 280 or something like that. So again, going back to the point about finishing oversized on these pull-up jumpers, floaters, if you will, I think it just profiles as a better matchup for him. I never really know. I guess Turner, the Arlington coach, does like to mix in some zone too, which I think might be a way to go. And I don't know kind of what his game plan is, which is to my point about maybe wanting to watch this one a little bit to see how the flow of the game goes. But on the surface, I like Baptist. They're a good two-way rebounding team, which I think takes away a strength of UT Arlington. And then the two, red flags for me, the high offensive turnover rate in a game that figures to be decided in the margins, and the regression that I think is going to happen at some point with that 25% 3-point shooting defense. And I just had Baptist rated higher personally. So yeah, I haven't played it yet, but it's going to be one I think I have a close eye on today. I'd like to kind of maybe get some access to that game, but not at 2.5. I just feel like it could be, like you said, a very defensive minded game. So I'd rather just have a money line of sorts and don't really want to pay the juice that is out there now.
Yeah, I kind of said maybe an under, but I where that total is, I don't think you're getting much value there. I think the books pretty much know that both of these teams can defend. The 338th rate national 3-point rate for Arlington is glaring. Neither team plays super fast. Like, Daniels is going to get the ball. He's going to patrol a little bit. He's totally fine, like running 20, 25 seconds off the shot clock and trying to take someone off the dribble. So again, I guess I would not really steer anyone toward the total at that number. Like my number here is pick, like pretty much on the nose, which I guess would suggest value at the current number of plus 2.5 with Arlington.
Sure.
But
Yep.
I share a lot of the same sentiments you do, where it's like I've watched this Arlington team play a bit. The turnovers are probably the most glaring thing for me. Baptist, they can defend. Like, they get up in your shorts defensively. They've got good. Those guards are really good at both ends of the floor. Daniel, they're just scrappy like that. This Baptist team is scrappy, and that's right here, Freddie, is why I'm so interested in watching this league in particular this year, because this is a great matchup right here. Valley versus Tarleton is like a really tough nut to crack, if you will. And these teams are going to all probably play 3 times. Could be 4 times once you get to the WAC tournament. So I'll likely be watching this one, but I'm kind of with you. My gut, which is hard to put a number to, my gut says Baptist bounces back from the loss and takes the swing.
For me, when you get into these pick 'em type games, because the line suggests, I think it opened a pick and maybe Baptist taking a little money. It's the margins that I guess you try and project who potentially could create more shots. And again, it comes back to the high offensive turnover rate for Arlington and the nice two-way rebounding that I believe, looking at it here now, Baptist is plus 15 per 100 possessions in rebound rate. So that should probably project to 3-4 more field goal attempts. the drop coverage does a little bit better job on their end at preventing free throws. Whereas Arlington has been a little bit reach happy and a high free throw rate against. So these are all kind of things that make me lean toward Baptist bouncing back off the Utah Valley loss. But again, my number is only 2, so uh, not enough to bet it now, but it will be one that I want to watch early to see if perhaps I can get some access to it.
And Steve Duke, hey, yeah, listen, don't take bad numbers. I think if he says watch Baptist win by 1,
sure,
just money line it. I would not advise laying the 2.5 when you could have had pick. I would just play a little smaller and bet the money line.
Yeah, my strategy for that sometimes is to just bet a flat unit. And obviously, if it's like minus 140 or something, I guess that would be the kind of how it would be lined if it's 2.5. Instead of laying 140, I'd just play 1 unit and accept winning less, or at least just losing a unit. And that way, if you don't want to bother with the watching it live, or you can't watch it live, or you can't bet live, then at least you have the side you want. Just accept winning a little bit less, I suppose.
All right, you know how I know folks are still in bed and I'm probably be watching this game or watching this show on demand. It is almost always the chat is clamoring for the early tip, the early game, and I haven't seen much of it, but I know people are probably gonna roll in 12 o'clock looking for some of the 1 o'clock tips. So dealer's choice to you, Freddie. There are 4 line games that tip off at 1 p.m. Eastern today. Your choice, pick one of them, and let's talk about that one.
Yep. Samford VMI is one of those, yes?
Yeah, Samford VMI, 1 p.m. down at VMI.
I see this one has moved a bit, but I did bet Samford minus 4.5, I think minus 115 a couple hours back. I guess a few reasons for me. I look at Samford's rating right now. I believe I looked this morning. I think they're 241st at KenPom, and I felt like that's now a 60-point drop from where they were at the start of the year. Personally, I feel like it's their low point. Like I have them being able now to maybe get back to the 200-ish range. So I guess based on my assessment of the team and where they are in the market, I felt like this was kind of buying the basement value price. Then when I look at schematics here, Sanford's new coach, I believe, came from Lipscomb, Lenny Akruff, and runs the same type of offense, high post motion. If you look at, if you haven't watched them play, if you just look at their metrics on Hoop Explorer, it's a very high inside out rate of offense flowing through the high post, looking to free up shooters on the perimeter. Then if you look at how VMI has guarded that, they're one of the worst defenses in the country, under the first percentile in inside out defensive efficiency. So I kind of like that on the surface. Samford's 3-point percentage has been, I guess a lot of the offensive metrics don't suggest that there's much room for, I guess, positive regression, but I do feel like they are getting good looks. So I guess we'll see. VMI, on the other hand, is a drive and kick offense. I believe they're above the 95th percentile in drive and kick rate. And if you look at what Samford's done this year, they're allowing catch and shoots at one of the lowest rates in the country. So I do feel like they have the ability to, limit what VMI wants to do. The number for me at 4.5, again, I made it 7. So I guess the market has moved in that direction. 80-73 Samford for me. So it was one of these ones, I guess, where it was a combination of liking the schematics and liking or projecting, I guess. I guess we'll see if I'm right that this is the low point for Samford, and a win today might see them go from 241 to maybe 235. You're not going to get a big bump beating VMI if they do, but I felt like a couple of losses they had over the last month really cratered their, I guess, metrics. And if you look at some of the splits in those games, I don't necessarily think they were as bad as some of those losses played out. They played some good halves. Just had VCU, I think, comes to mind, where he gave them a run for maybe 20 minutes and then kind of caved in. But yeah, so Samford's a play for me, and I guess we'll see if I'm right in a few hours.
Yeah, I can't argue with Samford. So one thing I'll add to this, if I don't, if you don't watch much VMI basketball, which I expect not everyone does, this is one of those places where if you ever watch the game, there's not going to be many people in the civilian section, but then the students, because it's a military institute similar to Army, Navy, and the military academies. Like, I do think there is a requirement for them to go and support. Like, I do think there's like some sort of requirement. Now, the reason I bring that up, Freddie, is they bring it at VMI's. The student section is always packed out, and they're loud, and they'll have their Army the pants on with like the red student section shirt. The kids don't get back till January 12th. And you talk about putting Samford on the road, and clearly this number, at least where it opens, at least where you got it, is reflective of some home court edge for VMI. I think you got to take it out of the equation here until the students are back. So yeah, I thought the number was a little bit low. Didn't play it myself, but I kind of wish I did, because it looks like this one is gone from, looks like we're at like 6.5 now. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, that's what I saw before I started talking about it. Yeah, it's taken a little bit of action, I guess, over the last hour or two.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree there. I just, for me, I haven't, VMI is one of those teams that I think has been kind of undervalued in recent years. But my buddy Aaron Kidd lives in Virginia, and this is on our list of like, I'll usually go down and hang with him at least once a year, and we'll hit like, whatever we can hit in his area. And I know he's kind of been like way ahead of the curve on like VMI being better than the market. And we were just talking the other day that maybe that expired because last year they were a big time overachiever against the number, maybe even a little bit earlier this year. I think one comes to mind. They backdoored a number against someone. I think it might've been Buffalo, but I think they did have some covers earlier this year. Might have inflated their profile a little bit. They're still at the bottom of this league, and Samford is still very good. So yeah, I'm with you with the Samford lean right there. Yeah, someone in the chat. Yeah, Keith Bayou Betts Landry is my buddy Keith. He's always here. He must have went hard last night. I mean, he's down. He lives like 20 minutes outside of New Orleans. So who knows? Yeah. He could have hit the French Quarter or something last night. We don't know, but he also hasn't texted me yet this morning, so I think he's probably sleeping.
Yeah, my phone's been pretty quiet as well. I have a lot of friends just probably rolling in now. It's a big night, but
so Freddie, we got about 15 minutes left, and on this show, I'll give you a second to think about it. But on this show, we lock in it's a 2-team parlay. If we have 3 people on, we go 3-teamer. It's sort of like what we do in place of like best bets. We track it, and we're on a nice little run. We used to have 3 hosts on the show. Now we have 2. And since we've gone down to the 2-teamers, we're kind of hot. We are back, I believe, for the season. The parlay is now plus 5.16 units. Anytime you can bet parlays and you're in the plus, that's pretty good. So basically, if you were to bet them equally, for every $1, if you were to put $1 on each of them, you'd be up $5.16. We don't attach unit ratings to these, but that is sort of what we do on the show. So I am going to give a game out right now. I'll propose a game. I'm going to give my leg out right now, and then I'll let you do the same. It can be something we've already talked about, but if it's something we haven't talked about, you'll have the pick on the next game.
Yep.
I'm going to lay it here with Montana. They are at home against Northern Arizona. I just don't agree with this move. Listen, could Montana, like a move like that, maybe someone is out? Like, it's possible. Like that's down from, I thought the opener of where I have this now, I'm very out on NAU. I think NAU is a bad basketball team. I'm actually surprised at how good of a non-con that they had. Beating teams like Cal Poly, Southeastern. So, beating Cal Poly and SEMO, I believe those were both a MTE that they hosted. And they specifically, I remember this now, put both of those teams in like a back-to-back when they played them. Like, you want to talk about home cooking, Freddie. They put Cal Poly and SEMO in a back-to-back and gave themselves a day off in between the two games.
Right.
So those are 2 wins. Southern Utah, we talked about the WAC being a very competitive league this year. I would say Southern Utah is probably the worst of the 7 teams in the WAC. That's another win. And then they've got 3 wins over non-board teams, non-D1 teams. Again, I'll go back to I just think that they lose Tout to Notre Dame, I believe. He was the just an absolute beast rebounder. What I believe he led this conference in rebounding last year. And why can I not remember? The kid's name is escaping me. He's like I think he ended up being like the leading scorer in the history of the program.
Jaden, was it Cohen or something? Yeah.
Tristan, something started with a T.
Yeah.
His name is on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, last year, that team should have been awesome. With those 2 guys in a league like the Big Sky, they should have been great. And I felt like I was high on them. I actually went to Flagstaff last year. I got to see a Northern Arizona game. And so I followed them closely. And I could not help but think that coaching staff cost them 5 or 6 games. Just poor game plans, poor execution late that I put on the staff more than anything. They did not replace the leading rebounder in the league and one of the top scorers in the history of their program. So for me, I'm very much out on the Lumberjacks. They are very much a fade for me in almost any scenario coming into conference play. And even if Montana, even if this move were injury related and they were to show up without someone, I don't know that there's someone that's worth 3 points on Montana's roster. So this number's way too small, in my opinion. I'm going to lay the 4.5 with the Montana Grizzlies here. That'll be my parlay leg. It's in Montana. I think this is a tough spot for Northern Arizona.
Usually a tough spot to play. So definitely interesting. I didn't just listen to what you're saying. I was looking at the number, and it has come down from 7 I saw earlier, and I was kind of even thinking about that. But interesting that it would be. I think I see like 5s and stuff in the market now, so might have to dig a little bit. But I can't disagree with anything you said. So.
Yeah, I was just going through my notes here to so I made this number 9.2. I've got Montana minus 9.2 here. So I actually showed value against the opener. And the fact this is, BetMGM minus 4.5, Caesars minus 4.5. Bet 365 is basically minus 4.5. It looks like 4 juiced. So again, that type of activity tells me someone is probably out. But I'm here to say I don't think it matters. And Penny, for what it's worth, is sitting there at 5. So they might want maybe they want the Northern Arizona money. But that's my parlay leg. Montana minus 4.5.
Very good. I think
go ahead.
I think I'll go Queens. I don't know what it is now, 4.5, 5. Queens is at home tonight, I think, to Eastern Kentucky, which will be a very high variance game given, ace on pace, threes, everything that that provides. I look at Queens, and they finished up kind of the break, I believe, with some challenging games. I want to say off the top of my head, it was Wake, Auburn, and another SEC team. So they lost 3 in a row coming into this one, I believe. I don't think they played a non-board game. And I guess when I immediately looked at, I wouldn't expect them to win those games anyway. I looked at some of the shooting splits from those games. They, I believe, were shooting 28% from 3. The 3 opponents shot greater than 50% from 3. So right away, I kind of, think that kind of evens out. This time of year, I like to, I guess, isolate how teams perform maybe against teams of similar ability, similar levels. So I look at this game, I isolated quad 3 and 4 performance, or teams kind of in that 225 to onward range. And Queens in that kind of competition has a top 60 offense with a net 2-point percentage of 9. EKU is 302nd in defensive efficiency in that same kind of subsetting of teams. And I like Queens at home. I believe this year at home 4-0 shooting the ball really well. Shot volume metrics are really strong at home. They're a very kind of fun team to watch. A lot of kind of off ball motion, cutting, screening away from the ball. They're going to produce a high 3-point rate. EKU is allowing, I believe they're outside the top 200 in opponent 3-point scoring rate, so they will give some looks there. And they've been a little bit of a different team this year. Obviously, they had some personnel losses, but they're not creating the same havoc and turnovers as they had in the past. I guess my one worry is EKU probably profiles to maybe create some second chances with their offensive rebounding. That's been a weakness of Queens. But again, the matchup wise, and the last thing, I feel like Queens really gets cooking when they can run in transition. They're a 90+ percentile transition rate team with a high efficiency. And if you look at EKU, they're allowing transition chances above the 90th percentile. So I think Queens will be able to play their game at home. Don't love laying, 5, I guess we'll call it, or I'm not quite sure what it is there now, in a game that probably brings so much variance, but I think it's a good spot for them getting back to their home court. In a game, I think they'll be able to comfortably play their style. And I'm kind of down on EKU this year, so I know they had some injuries in the non-con, but I feel like perhaps they're, traditionally been a solid club. I think they're not quite the same level this year.
No, I apologize for not for the lack of eye contact right there, Freddie. We updated our back end to how we enter plays, and I used to be able to do it in my sleep, and I'll just let you in on something. I don't like change. I'm very resistant to change. If I'm doing something the same way for a long period of time and someone changes it, I am like not Mr. Adapt to change. I want it, if like I was one of like the last of my friends to get an iPhone back in the day, right? Like I was just like, used to the T9 texting, if you will. The point is, it's just, I wanted to get Montana in because I was worried that there might be some buyback. It looks like that might be the case. And I think hopefully I did. I mean, I was trying to do it here quickly, and it is very, very challenging to do so. So anyway, I will update that I gave Montana's going to be a client play. I gave it out at -5 to clients, and I think that'll be the fair number for our parlay on that game. Freddie, did you have a number for that Queens game? Let me pull up the odds because I want to make sure we'll officially lock it in right now.
Pinnacle at -5. I think 365 earlier this morning was at 4.5 -115. I think they're up to 5 now. So it seems, if I look at kind of different odds screen here, it seems like 5 across the board.
Yeah, 5 is
maybe
fair. Caesars
5.5 at Superbook maybe, but I think 5 would be attainable.
Yep. Caesars has a 5. You could actually there's some juiced 4.5s out there. MGM, Hard Rock, both juiced 4.5s. But yeah, it looks like circa 5. If you're in Vegas, there's a lot of 5s. Fanatics 5, Rivers 4.5. So yeah, we'll officially lock this in right now. Then we'll go both. So I think that'll be Montana -5, Queens -5.
You got it.
Beautiful. All right. And so, yeah, like I said, that'll be so those are, I guess, would be our best bets. That will be the parlay for our show. We'll go with standard parlay odds there because both are -110. So plus 260 on that. And yeah, hopefully, what you could do, since it worked out this way, you could probably back it with a little money line parlay as well. I really like both of those teams to win their respective games. Take the spread out of it. But yeah, so real quick, I guess at the let's see if we can get one more in. We can kind of like, at the gun. We don't have to go super into detail in this one, but I am gonna go. Well, I guess we'll give the folks rolling out of bed another early game. So I know people are gonna be on that YouTube replay like 12:45 looking for the early games that tip off at 1. I threw the Coastal Carolina Polo on. Just to keep me on brand. I like to, find someone that's playing, maybe have an opinion that I have an opinion on. Although my opinion here is kind of anti-Coastal, but I like the polo and wanted to wear it. I got this down down in Conway, South Carolina when I visited the HTC Center last year, Freddie, which I don't know if you've seen it, They decided to go all teal on the floor this year. It's very interesting,
Yep.
to say the least. I agree with the move here. I can't Coastal. I like this team coming into the season. I thought they were very undervalued coming into the season. The more I watch them play offense, I see a lot of not moving around. They've got a couple guys that can really cook. Like Jones is the one that stayed from last year that probably could have transferred out is a very good scorer. And there's some individual offensive talent. They defend. I like Justin Gray as a coach, former Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
Yep.
But my numbers suggest that they should not be favored here, even though they're at home. What do you think, Georgia Southern Coastal?
I am on Georgia Southern +2.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, I suppose you said I'm pretty high on Southern in terms of what they're doing this year. When I look at Coastal Carolina, no doubt an improvement. But when I watch and then when I look at the metrics that back it up, it's a very ISO heavy offense, a very low assist rate. I think a bottom 20 national assist rate, which is tough to kind of sustain with free flowing offense. And Georgia Southern's a very aggressive defense, often two to the ball, very high turnover rate. So it's going to be hard to turn the corner, off the dribble with these types of defenses. When I look at, I guess, Coastal setup, you mentioned Gray. Gray is definitely a drop coverage employer, or that's what Coastal will play, forcing the ball handler to finish. I think most recently when I looked at a Coastal limits kind of assists at a top 10 rate nationally, what that would suggest is, the drop coverage just basically means you stay at home on the perimeter, you don't help in the gaps, you force the ball handler to finish. But that's how the Georgia Southern offense is wired. They're, I think, above the 95th percentile in field goal attempts off the dribble. It's what they want to do. So I kind of like just the way they're playing and this matchup both ways. I feel like they're kind of more aggressive defense can force Coastal to move the ball, which is not something they've been great at with the low assist rate. If you bring two to the ball, you have to be able to move to the weak side. Not something they've shown me they can do consistently anyway. And on the other end, as I mentioned there, the drop coverage, I think Georgia Southern has several creators off the dribble that can kind of eat that up. So I had Georgia Southern a slight favorite here. So wanted, I suppose, some action to it. You never know, I guess, early start on the road, that sort of thing. But I had them the better team. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think you talked me into it. It looks like I'm going to have to take +1.5. Kicking myself because I felt like it was faked up earlier. I was like, man, that's an
Okay.
interesting. Yeah, there was this opened 2. It
Yeah.
actually went to 2.5 momentarily, and I was like,
Yeah.
that might be a little bit of a whatever, like a manipulation of sorts, and I think that's the case. So there is actually still a couple 2s out there. They're definitely not books that are what I would consider widely available. So yeah, I'm with you though. Everything you said makes sense. The biggest thing I've noticed personally watching a lot of Coastal Carolina ball is that the game that really sticks out to me is the Alabama A&M game. I got very, very fortunate to cover 6.5 with Coastal in that game, and they had a pretty substantial lead at one point, and they just they ended up just standing around for almost an entire half, and I was kind of like, man, like this is not good. And I got lucky to cover at the end. And ever since then, I've kind of watched them and I'm like, did I maybe come out of the game? Well, maybe was I right on this team? And now I've got to reassess. Like they came out, they overachieved, which I wasn't surprised because I liked some of the guys that they had back. But now I'm almost feeling like the market has maybe moved too far in their favor. And so I'm with you. I'm the same. I've got Georgia Southern a slight favorite.
Yeah, it's
And it's an early tip.
Yeah, it was very interesting to me how Coastal kind of ramped up their pace this year too. And last year they were playing, at a snail's pace on one of the bottom tempos. This year they're, I think, like top 50, 60 tempos, which is again what this Georgia Southern offense wants to do with Charlie Henry. They're coming from the Alabama kind of system. This team thrives with pace. Offensively anyway, in my mind. So I'll be interested to see if Coastal, as you get into conference play, maybe dials it back a bit. But Yeah, I think Southern's a decent bet, particularly getting a point or two in a game. I think they certainly can win.
All right, guys, we've reached the top of the hour. I don't know if anyone else is doing shows today. Usually I've got to get off because we have a pretty tight schedule in terms of like shows. I don't know if we've got one behind me, but that's why we get the hard stop at 11.
Yep.
Our parlay again, 2-teamer for the show. Montana -5, Queens -5. So there you go. Nice, easy 2-teamer for the show. 2 client plays for me I gave out on the show. Montana -5, and I'm going to join Freddie with Georgia Southern. He pushed me. It was one I was already sort of leaning that way, and I took the +1.5 there. Freddie's got +2. And then did you also bet the Queen side? Is that a bet for you as well?
Yeah, I bet that at 365 earlier. Took 4.5 -115 personally, but I have 5 is perfectly fine too.
Sure. And what about Samford was a bet for you as well? Just to
Stanford was the same 4.5. Yeah, so those are the 3. I believe the only 3 I have bet, and like I said, Baptist is another one that I have interest in, but didn't want to lay the 2.5. So I'll be interested to see maybe someone pushes back and knocks that down to 1.5, 1, and then maybe I might dabble a little bit, or like look for potentially a slow start and maybe try and get, if they go down 3-0, 5-0, might be able to get something like that. I'm not dying to jump in at the number now. Like I kind of just want the money line at a bit more appealing price, I guess.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you have a great day. I'll be back with Vino tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. Thanks again to Freddie for tuning in. And you can find him on Twitter. Freddie, what's your Twitter handle?
It's just Freddie Mill 7. Yep. And thanks, Adam, for having me on, and everyone for, I guess, listening to me ramble on about it. And best of luck to everyone today.
All right. See you guys tomorrow.